Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and I'm joined by none other than Grim Reaper himself. Grim, how you doing today, man? He's a content creator that's joining us along for a continued video. It is a top 5 selection of your favorite champions, or particularly your top 5 general PVE champions, but he has a nice little twist to him. How you doing today, Grim?
Yeah, I'm good, Fayo. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the channel. I really appreciate that.
No problem, man. No problem. Me and Grim, actually, and we have to give full credit to where credit's due for this collaboration that I did, not only on his channel, but we're doing on ours, was brought to you by none other than Grim himself. He's the one who actually reached out to us, so a big special thank you to yourself, sir. But also, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you got going on in the realm that is the Grim Reaper himself?
So I've been around pretty much a long time when it comes to raid content. Played raid pretty much from the start of Raid Star Legends, probably about 5 years now, more or less. I remember a lot of things from back in the day. Been streaming for about 3.5 years, nearly 4 years. Doing YouTube now consistently for like a year and a half.
Let's go.
More or less. And so yeah, been around, obviously been a part of the official raid content creator program now as a tier 2 since for the last 3 or 4 months.
Awesome.
Massive achievement, a nice milestone to kind of just like tick off, and then I'm just working on my way to the tier 3, to the big boy stage, right?
Gotcha,
and stuff like that. So
yeah. So for those of you guys that don't know, me and Grim actually, I want to say our first like big interaction was during like the Hell Hades content creator challenge, where we all played like a free to play series, and we did some things with some other content creators as well. But that's how I would say like, that was like our door opening to being able to be more familiar with each other. And Grim, in his infinite wisdom, decided to reach out to us and talk about us like, yo, let's do something together. It doesn't even matter what it is. Let's do even some of the most simplest things. And he decided to add a little bit of a challenge to himself, and I'm going to kind of open the door here for the most part. I want you to tell us what is special about your top 5 choices for our preference pick for PvE. What is special about your particular list?
So I suppose my top 5 are at the moment are one of the champions have been account changer for myself recently. Some hidden gems that I've pulled out and worked with. Maybe I've done a video on them, learned a couple of tricks about them, and really helped me with mainly with Curse City, mainly some of them as well, making content on people that champions that have been around a long time but don't get the credit that they deserve because of power creep and stuff like that, but are still really top tier for certain things, and people don't think about these or sleep on it, right? So mainly P versus E focused for this one. Obviously I've cleared all the stages of Curse City except from the first rotation, so very experienced when it comes to Curse City, and I'm definitely one of the first ones that ducks underneath the table when someone mentions me to do a floor when it comes to Curse City, because I know I don't have 8 hours a day to sit there for that. So yeah, the torture through Curse City, and then put myself through more torture of making the videos to try and help the community and people, especially within my clan and stuff like that, to beat this content and to help get the carnage and the juicy rewards, which are not so juicy, and stuff like that. So yeah, that is my reason.
Gotcha. Honestly, that's actually a big accolade to be able to hit like multiple rotations. I've only had like a couple handful myself, and they are not without their challenges, you know, for sure. There's a lot where it takes demand, where you're introducing champions you wouldn't normally go for, which is kind of, I think, a very good nod to what you're trying to say. So I will say, let's start off with the first one. I'm going to throw a little joke in there, but I want you to introduce this champion and let us know exactly what we're dealing with. So where are we going? Number 5.
So we're going to go to the high house, and we're going to come in with Jingle Bells Hunter. So
yo, he sent me, I gotta cut it. He sent me a message, and he was like, these are my top 5, by the way. And he was like, please forgive me if I mess up on the thing. I was like, okay, let's take a look at it. He was like, my first one, or you know, my 5th one at the moment is gonna be Jinger Hunter. I'm like, not my name. Hunter. I'm like, who's Jinger Hunter? Wait a minute. And he was like, oh, Jingle Hunter. I was like, okay, wait, really? And that just opened the door, because he actually talked a little bit before we started recording this, and now that we're here, go ahead and take the floor. What's special about Jingle Hunter? Because I don't touch this guy.
So Jingle Hunter actually overall is a very classic champion. Back in the day, you know, people used him for his speed aura for arena as a nuker. He has actually have really solid speed aura for arena. back in the day as well, there wasn't many speed auras, so it was actually a really high. I think actually had the highest out of all the epics back in the day, where Gold 5 wasn't even Gold 5, it was Gold 4, and it was an absolute challenge to get there. And I still remember running the Haikatoon into him because I didn't have the Gorgo, which was the budget Arbiter or the stuff like that. So I was one of the first people that 6-starred the Haikatoon to get that working, right?
Especially
And he was absolute, yeah, mine too as well. Underrated champion as well for sure. And he was a fantastic champion. Now his A2 actually has a absolute cannon of a nuke on it. It's a godlike hit, and he is also a 5.1 multiplier. So 5.9 multiplier.
That's really
so
high.
That is pretty high. It's one of the highest out of all the epics up there. Now for Curse City, we're talking about Soul Cross. He brings the CC, he brings the nuke. I think he's got a bit of Termi to drop as well on the third ability. If he is critical, and that's also pretty good as well. He has a juicy A1, which is, I think it's a double hitter. And his stats are not too bad as well. So yeah, like fantastic champion. You know, when you are looking for Curse City, you're looking for the hard hitters because it definitely does make it easier. Obviously, I was clearing Curse City before the live arena. Great Hall bonuses were added before Empowerment was added. So to the epic. So yeah, for me, he definitely makes it there. Where he is good is there's a couple of places you could definitely use him for, like wave clear content. He can definitely do the arena nuke still, you know, and he also can be used in Dark Fane. So with the Dark Fane, if you build him the fastest, you're only going to build him for Dark Fane, by the way, if you're very limited for champions. So I do want to kind of make that as a scarce, and obviously that'll be the same for some of these champions as well. But if you build him fast enough and kill, he definitely will kill the nuke, even if your gear is bad, and you know, and then he'll freeze the rest of the wave, right, which will allow you to be fine. You definitely could also take some masteries as well, just to make that freeze a little bit better, to improve it. So you know, you can definitely get it to really close to 100%. Unless RNG is really bad, then you should be fine. So for me, definitely makes number 5 for a champion who I've recently discovered, who is a hidden gem, but also was a bit of a carry for that, mainly that Curse City stage, which at the moment Curse City is probably like the hardest when it comes to P versus E. Definitely very frustrating. I know I lost a lot of hair to do that. I know that my McDonald's M has got a lot bigger. And
that's only because your brain is expanding, right? I'm gonna give you your compliments for a weekend.
And let's not talk about the toilet seat that's coming, yeah?
Let's
not even talk about that. So
okay, I gotta give a special nod to this too, because like I like I said, I avoided it because I always thought that like that is just something there's better. But when you actually take a much more like closer look at this champion, I mean 101 base speed. It's actually nothing to scoff at. I mean, I hate to say this, but there's some legendaries in the game that this guy's faster than, and that's crazy to consider that he's an epic. And not to mention, like you talked about Dark Fae being a viable option, decrease speed to make Dark Fae slower to give you more time, more uptime, and that can maybe give you options to control. Very, very good nod there. I didn't actually think about it, along with the turn meter reduction, and let alone the big nuke that he has that also comes with like some utility freeze for the enemy waves and whatnot. And that's huge in Soul Cross. It's very, very important to control the enemy.
And you have to understand as well, like back in the day, that speed was really good.
Well,
like,
true. Actually, now that you say that, yeah, very true. Because nowadays that's becoming more of the standard. But before, as champions are coming in, they were going a lot. I mean, think about it. We had like Rosin, for example, who has been around for a while. I know everybody likes to pick on him, but he's not even over 100. So like having a champion like this that does have that
as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Robar was like 92 at one stage. I think he's like I think 97 now.
Yeah.
So no, he was 89. I think he had the lowest base speed out of.
Very slow. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so, as much as we like to give a knock to it, because there are higher auras for arena battles, even then, most averages of auras are around 19%. You know, the decent ones, right? The more expansive, the more detailed ones that are kind of closer towards like 28, 30%. This is not too far behind it. So even as like if you're starting out, like you said, and your champion pool is limited, or in particular you're going against content that's more restricted, and even think about it like this, there's possibility that there may be more restricted content with like potentially Siege, right? It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, man. This is actually kind of a nod that makes me really feel like I should reevaluate whether or not I'm missing out on something here. So not a bad nod.
Yeah,
Not a bad nod.
it is. It's worth pointing out as well. Like when you're investing in champions, you want to kind of use them in other areas, and at our level now, we don't really have that utility because we're building champions now for that one progress. But you have to think, if you're like a mid game player right now or early game player, and you're watching this, which most likely are, then you've got faction wars, which is fantastic. You know, you've got. I don't know if there's any high elf seeker rooms. I think there might be, where he might do some work as well. There is also wave clear, right? He's got the freeze. He can do the nuke. You know, if you don't have the sear and the resets, he can definitely do a job there as well. So yeah, don't underrate this champion. You know, he can definitely do some stuff. And like I said, it's got good base stats already. If you've got that 3-star blessing, or if you've got a couple copies and you can empower, then you know he's starting to speak volumes to you.
That's very, very true. Empowerment does open up a lot more flexibility with epic options, especially for PvE content. Okay, not bad, man. So we're going to let Jinger Hunter go for now, and we're going to have some fun with this next one. So you also seem to be pretty excited about like a lot of epic high elves. So what's our next one? I'm kind of teasing a little bit, but hit us one that I'm going to give you a good agreement on this one.
So I think he looks a bit like Noddy. So we're gonna call him. I'm gonna call him Noddy, right? It's Helder.
Neldor.
Naldor. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, Neldor. Listen, Mr. Suave. We call him Rico Suave over here because he looks very, very nice and posh over here. So go for it. Why Neldor?
Right. So Neldor. Obviously, I make a couple of. I do a lot of takeovers, obviously within Fire Knight and stuff like that. Now he's getting to the point now where a lot of players, they don't have the Geno, right? So now they're looking for substitutes, and there's not a lot of good freeze champions in the game that can be used in Fire Knight. A lot of the freeze champions are very underwhelming. They definitely need a few twerks. Now he has a triple hitter on a E1, which is fantastic for Fire Knight, especially with ally attack. With a freeze, now this is a 40% chance of landing the freeze. Now you could take Fears of Presence, or Fears of Presence to kind of increase that as well. If you've got 2, or if you've got a Geno with him, or even the other guy from Silver Watchers, then you have a very high chance of keeping that shield down. And pretty much as well, he has a decreased speed, which is really important for Fire Knight Hard as well. And then he has decreased attack and a decreased accuracy, which is a bit underrated for Fire Knight, especially decreased accuracy with a decreased speed that gets landed on your team, and the decreased defense as well on one of the abilities. Now his A2 is pretty strong as well. It's got a multiplier of a 1.35, which is very, very good. This is where he stands out as well as mainly Fire Knight. He can definitely do a job with the A8 decreased speed, which is again a bit undervalued when we're talking about wave base cleared as well, especially within Fire Knight and stuff like that. So he keeps knocking that turn meter back or slow them down, which is pretty juicy and stuff like that. They can also be used in lower levels of Hydra with the AoE decreased speed. Now when I'm talking about Hydra mainly specifically, it's people that are early game, right, that don't have the big selection champions and very limited rosters, where they might be looking at just a level them up as a 50, looking for that AoE decrease speed, the AoE decrease defense, so the decrease attack and the decrease accuracy, which is very key buffs as well for Hydra. So again, I would only probably look at him for any normal or hard, but he's definitely a fantastic champion. And overall, I think he's a little bit underrated for Fire Knight because G-Nut takes all the credit, takes all the spotlight. If you don't have him, go check him out. I've already done a video on him as well for that, and there was a lot of flexibility for him. Now we're talking again blessings, empowerment, that really helps him with his survivability for this as well. I don't even think the boss took a turn when we did his videos, and it was very quick. I think it was like 2 minutes for him for finite, and the gear wasn't even that solid, if I'm honest. So yeah, for
A
me,
lot of room for
definitely
improvement.
underrated. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like the nod towards it, in particular for Fire Knight too, because even if you do have a G Nut and you're looking for other people to also complement comps like that, his passive kicks in. Like whenever someone else is trying to place a freeze, which is what's happening with G Nut, or like you were saying earlier, Creodin. There's a lot of various options. Think your Carl, one of my alternative personal favorites. He joins in with them. You know, he has a 30%, and to be honest, if we're talking percentages, you know, Revenge is like 10%, and that sometimes procs a lot. Poly is a lot of people like to have fun with. That's also 30%, and it procs a lot more than people give credit for. So him joining in on a freeze at 30% is nothing to scoff at. And it's that freeze ability that he's also joining in with. So he's not only joining in on the fight, but he's also adding to the freeze too as well, which means that that's a lot of coverage on that turn meter. It's really, really good.
He hits fairly hard. Like, he hasn't got crazy multipliers, but he hits fairly hard. He brings a lot of the utility debuffs that the Fire Knight generally needs, like decreased speed, so key. I mean, look at Curse City right now with this rotation, which in my opinion is probably like the hardest floor the whole of the 5 rotations. I made a video on it and I pulled my hair out the first time I did this.
Which floor was it? Do you remember?
The Fire Knight one on Curse City.
Really?
I would love to
the
see him
tainted
in
one? Yeah. If he's ever an option there,
torture.
it's very nice. It's very nice to be able to do.
Yeah.
I believe on the hard one there. There's this one too as well, yeah.
Yeah. This is absolute torture. Like, good luck with that one.
Yeah, it's very restricted. It's very restricted, so having an option like Neldor is very ideal, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Not too bad, not too bad. So you've been throwing a lot of epics at us for this one. Do you have any legendaries in mind that you're gonna bring to? How about your number 3? What do you got for number 3?
So we're actually gonna go take a trip to Demon Spawn.
Ooh.
Right. I've made a video recently about her, and I've made another video about her in the past. Definitely another one that's a classic champion that's been around for a very long time. We're gonna look at the Void legendaries, and we're talking no other than
Kutraxa?
Kutraxa.
Okay. This man's like, yo, I'm gonna call him Duchess Lacraxia or something. No. Okay, so Kutraxa. That's who you're going for, huh? Okay.
Kutraxa.
So why? I know that she's a really high single target damage dealer, but what in particular like gives you like the big nod towards her?
So there's many reasons, right? Let's talk about the fact that she can actually one-shot a Taurus, right? If you don't have a Turvo and you are looking for the perfect replacement, she does need empowerment, and she might need that blessings for sure to really kick in, because you know Taurus is very, very tanky. He's very one of the meta champions up there, but with a really good build. I think it's Ares in SP who used to run it on Platinum offense against Taurus and Mishka as a +4, and he just used to one-shot. He used to mount him. And she is really good against lockout. She has a 4-hitter on the A1, which ignores 50% target defense. So she's great against warlords and stuff like that. She's a Void Affinity, so that's really good as well. She's basically gonna one-shot pretty much anyone within raid. She's absolutely a powerhouse within Fire Knight Hard as well. Yeah, she doesn't have any freeze mechanics, but with the ally attack, which is pretty much in your team 90% of the time, a 4-hitter is very strong and super rare. So for Fire Knight, I've done a lot of building teams for Fire Knight 10, and I've looked at all the top teams with low level blessings, and Fire Knight 10 is very hard to get as close to 100% without very high level blessings when we're talking about Phantom Touch and stuff like that. And I've done Martyr comps, I've done all sorts of comps, Valkyrie and stuff like that. My gear is really good. Kutraxa is the most consistent champion within that team that I run, which is very close to 100% team. Now, and that's because of what she does. Now, she can actually be used in Fire Knight as well for Curse City on 1 or 2 of the rotations, and again is absolute powerhouse within Curse City. And then we're not even talking about Hydra. Now, when we're talking about Hydra, we're talking about endgame comps where you're trying to get close to the pure damage as close as possible with ignore defense with a savage.
Okay.
So if you're using that 6-piece merciless, she's fast. She's got that nice little passive as well for arena, which is the revive on death. It doesn't work for Hydra, unfortunately, but we kind of want to see that to be buffed a little bit. But again, you got extra turn. She has a 6.9 multiplier on a A2, which is a godlike hit, and she also has a godlike hit on a A1, which is a 0.8 multiplier. Now, that is quite high for A1. It's a 4-hitter that is ignoring 50% target defense. And again, for Hydra, that can pretty much do a lot of damage. Now, I did a video on her recently as well, and she did a lot of damage, out damage a lot of champions. She out damages the Blade Master,
Rathalos? Really?
Yes.
Okay. He's a personal favorite of mine, believe it or not. Funny enough.
Yeah, so he's a personal favorite of more than mine as well. And he nearly made it to this list, but I dropped him because I've actually started subbing him out for Catraxa. The only problem with her Hydra is survivability, but that's the same with pretty much any attack-based champion that you're going to use in these type of comps. Now, again, I would really like to kind of put it out there that this is in-game content, right? This is people that are trying to do 1 billion teams. We're not looking for 30 million key. We're looking for 1 billion, right? So we are looking for that 6-star crushing ram champion. And I'll tell you now, if she had a 6-star crushing ram on her, she's just going to ruin these heads. Like Wrath, don't worry about Wrath. Yeah, like she can also remove debuffs as well. Yeah, so that reflection. I think it's on, yeah, there we are. On this on the E2, removes 2 random
buffs from the target. So she's
target.
a little bit of a stripper there too, as well, in terms of like removing buffs. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Now, if you've got the reflection up, it definitely could do some work, right? So and weaken as well. The weaken on A1.
That's not too bad. You know, it's funny you mentioned her in terms of like her value, man. I've actually seen in some of the top competitive, like you have your Narcissus now and whatnot, but a lot of compositions, and I think it's still even prominent today, where they run like at least a supporting unit like UDK who does like a lot of redirection. And because that she has a strong multi-hitting kit, she's able to not only take the first, yeah, you could throw that at UDK all day long, but then you got 3 other subsequent hits that do a lot of damage that are going to go to the target you actually do want to hit. So, although it's like you're kind of going around UDK by going through him, you're getting a lot of massive damage out with those other 3 hits, and it still allows you to kind of, yo, I want to get this one champion out, boom, 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 and then you're gonna crack open something, you know. And who knows? Sometimes because she's neutral affinity, if that UDK doesn't have that stun skin up anymore, and you guys are going in that fight for long enough to a point where you either stripped it or remove the debuff or remove the buff altogether, she's gonna crack even into UDK pretty well, and that removes the wall. And next thing you know, like the rest of the team is open for a lot of damage, and she definitely can bring some single target output for sure.
Yeah, so if you have that Necrid, that Lady M, the ally attacks, that's where you're going to see the true value of her, and that's going to be super, super nuts. So, Lady M, she brings that increased attack on that juicy ability, right? So that's the increased attack straight up for her. That's even better. She has really good synergy for her in Hydra as well. So, if you're looking at in-game champion and you're sitting on a Catraxa with a 5-star, you want to be taking that life, I would say Harvest Cast for that, or even Phantom Touch as well is questionable on her. I run Phantom Touch because I use her in my finite team. And I only have a 2-star Blessed on her. She hits like an absolute cannon. She is empowered to +2 as well.
Okay, so you definitely got some stats going for sure.
That's I run her in finite 10 around about 300 speed, 300 critical damage, like 7,000 attack, right? That's in finite 10 hard. So I think she's even doing more damage. Yeah, she's doing more damage than Gina right now.
Really?
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's a
it's close to it anyway. I'll have to pull up the videos later after this, and you can take a look, man. Like, she is juicy. So for me, she definitely up there, and she's a classic. Everyone sleeps her. They just throw in a vault. Get her out your vault. If you're struggling against Warlords,
it's funny.
She's gonna
It's
eat
funny.
him.
It's funny you say that because I actually do think some people who may not actually look at her may have to give another glance at her. And I do appreciate the Fire Knight nod too, because that's a lot of content that people struggle to get around. Like you don't have that Gina, but maybe you have someone who can help you kind of push in and get in and do the damage before the boss is even relevant, and you keep it going. You get a victory out of it. So.
Yeah, you have to think like that's she would go really well with the last champion that we selected because she gets the extra turn, right? That's a 5 hitter with the extra turn. Yeah,
it adds up.
Like,
it adds up.
Yeah, definitely. And she brings that weaken as well for the boss.
Yeah,
you need to bring the weaken.
So it allows you to get more damage for the rest of your team too. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And you do the ally attack as well.
Okay,
it's juicy, mate.
Alrighty, so like we definitely got a really strong single target hitter. We definitely got like a lot of noteworthy champions that bring a lot of utility to the team. Is there another one that it's at a legendary standpoint that you would like to give to? Matter of fact, let's bring it back to Sin City for a second. Do you have your number 3? Or no, your number 2 now we're actually at, excuse me.
Yeah.
This one in particular, I think when you mentioned it to me, I was very, very like, you know what? I didn't think this was it either. I thought this was just going to be useful for one other champion. For like not even useful as a champion itself, but as fodder for somebody else. And I was wrong. As I went through one of the hardest stages in Sin City, this guy actually impressed me. Who is this champion that you're going to put for number 2?
So he's actually a form of fusion. Chili the Lucky, right?
Yeah, Cillian the Lucky. Yeah,
legendary.
I don't remember him being a fusion. That's before my time.
Yeah, before your time. I think he was a St. Patrick's fusion. I didn't do the fusion, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, I see the 4-leaf clover. Yeah, you're right.
I didn't do it. So St. Patrick's fusion, very, very long time ago, and fantastic champion. He's had a couple of buffs, so it's definitely helped bring him in. I think his kit maybe got reworked as well. So this guy, right, obviously he's shining quite well right now in mainly in Curse City on Soul Cross, right? There's this one room where he really helped me. Like really helped me. Mine was unbooked. I had 2 of him and I only had to use one of them as a 6-star, and he absolutely just locked down the waves, and it's one of the hardest. I think it's like S20 or something like that. It's one of the hardest floors on that. And that's with the Ronda as well. So he has really good synergy with Ronda. He can absolutely nuke as well. Like the A3 has a very strong multiplier, I think of a 4.3 or a 5.3 multiplier on a A3. So it's a 5.5 multiplier on a A3. Now it also will reset itself if it gets a kill. So this is on a 3-turn cooldown, which is very low. It hits extremely hard and has a turn meter steal and a stun as well. And sometimes within Curse City you don't want to do the AoEs for some reason. So the single target ability can be quite juicy, especially if you're trying to cycle around the rotations of his skills to get back around to that, especially if you're not booked or something like that. Curse City is extremely hard content. Now his A2 is a AoE. Is only one of the few abilities within Raid that has a AoE block buff skill, blocked active skill within there. I think there's a couple when there's like Hedgie and stuff like that, which is quite high on the high end, but his is 100% chance when it's booked. Again, this is on for 2 turns as well, which is really, really consistent. Obviously, you have the affinity, and it's actually really good multipliers as well, 4.3, and it's quite strong. It's not godlike, but it's quite strong. Now, to top off that as well, he has a very nice passive on that as well, which again kind of give you 2 random buffs. I kind of wish it was a little bit better, where it just gives you like the increased attack and the critical damage. Could be a bit random, but anything is welcome. He has a nice aura as well, and I think the A1 is not fairly too bad as well. Yeah, so the decreased speed is very, very useful, and again, stealing 30% target of the target's turn meter on a 2-hitter is pretty juicy. You can see there it's a 50% chance as well, which is really, really strong. So where is he going to be solid for then? Obviously for Arena, you know, he can definitely come in and do a job for Arena. You can use him as a CC champion, or you could use him as a nuke of some type of ability. Now again, we're talking late game, mid game, or early game. I probably wouldn't use him more towards endgame because of the power creep within Rage. You probably got something a bit better. But if you're looking for a bit of fun, why not? He would be an absolute carry within Faction Wars and also help you with clearing waves because he can do damage and he can also bring the CC, which is a lot of utility within that.
I agree. So, I agree. Actually, it's funny too because like I said, I thought this guy was just fodder for empowering Ronda, and to be honest with you, the exact stage you're talking about, I believe, incorporates sometimes using, I think it was like S20 if I remember correctly, or S19. I think it's S19, which it has
it's
like
this rotation.
Yeah, it's Mari, Mariska, and 2 terraces. So like AoEing sometimes is not a good idea because you got 2 powerhouses coming at you, right? Him being able to single out one to stun him out, and then eventually following up with being able to lock out with his abilities and having that turn meter control. Like I said, like control is the name of the game for Soulcross for sure. And him bringing that just in his kit alone, forget building like maybe extra stun sets on him or anything around those lines. Just his kit alone has so much to offer. And I recently used him myself for one of the stages, this rotation, as a matter of fact, and he impressed me. He got me to the finish line. I was like, okay, I am grateful I have him.
I don't even think mine's booked still. If I'm being honest.
Mine's either, and we were able to make it work for us in Soulcross. Yeah.
And I know people who have 2 that absolutely made that room a joke, just because I had 2 fully booked.
Yeah.
So, before you go booking your Ronda, be careful. Yeah, like he has a lot of utility there. Like you don't want to look like my hairline, right? You don't want to see the McDonald's M. So you don't want the grey hairs either.
Oh no, so, we're gonna say those are blonde for now. So we, come on.
It's lighting.
Hi, I have to agree. I thought very little of this champion. And I have to give credit where credit's due. A part of his utility that he brought to the table opened the door for me to be able to see the finish line for that stage in particular. And not to mention too, I know that this is a little bit on the random side here. Definitely want to increase attack. You're already going to have him crit cap, so crit rate's not as important. Crit damage will further amplify him. But then like in those scenarios where you do want to AoE, even at the repercussion of getting counterattacked upon, having that block damage early on, that's nothing to cry home to. You have that full turn to do whatever you want without any repercussions because you're mitigating that damage. So it's not bad. It's not a bad pass. I think if you had a little bit less buffs and it's a little bit more controlled, or maybe you can kind of have some criteria that helps you kind of fully know what you're getting instead of it being fully randomized, I agree with you. I think that'd probably be the icing on the cake for him. But nevertheless, one of those underrated champions that definitely helped out in Soulcross particularly, and has a lot of flexibility and some key areas. Like, if you want to have some fun with some control, he's really good, for sure.
I know a lot of people who will pull him like mid-game or early game, and they'll be like, oh. And I'm like, come on, man, he's not that bad. Right, like
we are very critical on our champions.
Worse.
That's true. Yeah, it has to be like the top of the top, or we don't care. It feels bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like content creators can sometimes be bad, and we don't see the utility in some champions, right? Because we want the best of the best, especially if you're a spender as well. Like you have high expectations when you're a spender.
That's true. That's true. It does come with the territory. But like I said, underrated and surprises people when it comes to like the value you can bring in key areas when you start making use of his kit. Now, this last one is the one that I'm very interested in seeing from you, and this one actually caught me off guard. And I want you to lace this one up and tie it up. Your number one choice is very interesting. Yes. Why? Why is it what it is?
She has a bit of a soft spot for her.
Oh, okay.
I'll be honest. She was known, again, another classic champion that we want to bring back within raids and stuff like that. But she's very known as a budget Rhodas back in the day. Okay, so I think she was very meta on arena defense because of how strong Rhodas was.
Really?
For back in the day, and we're talking about Hexa, right? Hexa is Hexia. Fantastic champion, single target nuker. Now, I was lucky enough to pull a 5-star blessing for her, and it was funny enough, I was missing some of the key champions on this boss for Curse City. And sorry, not the Curse City boss, it was Curse City waves and stuff like that. So with her, she brings a increased attack, which is very strong on a A2. Now this has a multiplier of a 5.3, so this is godlike. And
Very
then
strong.
on a and then on a E3 she brings an increased speed. Now it's only a small increased speed, but that she is bringing all the utility that she can with her to increase her potential. And this one is also a 5.5 on E3. Now this is a class as a strong on her A3. So again, it is worth noting she gets a extra turn as well on the A2 if she takes a kill, which is pretty juicy. And the A1 as well, it has a defense down on A1, so it can be used for faction wars as well, especially when you're up against the boss trying to bring that defense down. In that faction, there isn't many champions that have defense down, as off the top of my head. So there is a lot of utility there, and she's just a fun champion to use overall. Also, she has a great option for heal as well. She has a little heal in the kit, which is like a built-in lifesteal, and it's just very good. And like lower level in arena, like gold 5 or something like that, if you're struggling for snookers, and a lot of people are, and you've got their empowerment, or you've got the blessings, and this brings a lot of utility back into her. And it's the same with many epics now that brings them to the table. That +4 empowerment, that's a big thing. You know what I mean? So like, don't sleep on her. Definitely consider using her. She one-shot a lot of people on Cossack Soulcross. I was very impressed.
Really? Okay.
And it was one of the floors where I didn't have like that Oathbound. Oathbound wasn't on that floor, but it was like key champions I was missing, like that Oathbound, right?
The more popular ones, the more well-known ones.
Yeah, for sure. So,
I gotta be honest with you. I wasn't expecting this one from you. This one in particular was kind of one that caught me off guard. I was like, really, Hexia? And then as you started to explain a little bit of it, I was like, oh, we got to say this for the video. But as you started explaining to it, like the multipliers that she brings to the table are pretty juicy, man. And, you know, I was thinking about it, like the fact that she kind of sets herself up with everything too, which is kind of nice with the increased attack. She has the increased speed that goes along with her. If you pay attention to like her base, the extra base that she has right off the rip too. I know that our friend Grim here is it, but I'll go and read it to you. It's 1,564. That's actually not too bad for an epic. Most like actual like attack type champions, they are around that 1,500 to 1,600. And that's considered good even for legendary. So take that base for an epic and then empower that, which is a lot more easy to do than your legendaries because they're easier to acquire, right? Even if you're a spender or not, like epics in general are just easier to acquire over Legos. So like the opportunity to take her and empower her and get even higher stats on top of that, that's actually kind of impressive to consider. And I think that's that's pretty cool too. And the nod, like we didn't even talk about that too much, but the aura that she has also complements the faction crypts too as well. So like early game, if you're progressing, you're still trying to get your Lydia or you're trying to clear those faction war stages, she adds a little something specifically for that team that you know, if you're limited on options, you don't have all the most like up to date Legos and whatnot. She's a really good option to consider because she brings something to the table for not only herself but for the comp too. That's really interesting nod, man. You surprised me because I thought I was gonna expect. I want to see the most supreme champions that you would see like in like the top end Lego. I thought I was gonna see some mythicals on your list, to be honest with you. But I held back and I was like, I'm gonna just keep it at a Lego level. And he was like, I'm gonna do you better. I'm gonna throw some epics in there, and then I'm gonna add Soulcross. I was like, okay, all right.
They're just a lot of them are classic, sleeper champions. We forgot about them. It's time now with it's like Fenix, right? Fenix was nearly on my list. I love Fenix. Fenix could have easily hit this list. There was a couple of epic champions who could have made the list. Grush the Mangler as well. Fantastic in Curse City.
I agree, actually. I used two of them, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I used one.
I have one. I have a 6-star blessing on him, Crush and Rem. He just rips through Soulcross, And you have to take an advantage of that. I did a little bit of a fun video with him, take him into arena, and we were taking down some mobs, in arena and stuff like that. It was pretty juicy. There's a lot of champions that can make this. For example, Tayrell could have made this list. Tayrell was very key against Taurus.
These two, Tayrell and Skaramis were my go-to. Yeah. They held it up for your boy. I have to agree with that one. Yeah.
Skaramis just sets up Tayrell with the AoE sleep.
They work.
So many people. Yeah, so many people just forget like that decrease attack. Well, guess what? Why are you putting a stun set on him, man? Like the guy just puts everyone to sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Taurus is not counterattack you if he's taking a nap.
And
Yeah?
I thought it was like the irony because like I find that like when I first brought them together for particularly those stages, I was like, man, I don't know if like people are saying Tyrell's so good, and then I was like, well, I know Skaramis is good. I'm gonna use Skaramis, and then when I brought them together, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's a dynamic here where one sets up the other, and it just compiles upon it. So I was like, okay,
Snowballs, yeah.
yeah, and it
Snowballs.
allows a lot there. Now, I did want to flip it because we talked a lot about like case uses for a lot of these champions here, and you were talking about how there's some really good applications and where they're usable in certain areas. We do have the new Siege coming out, and I know you've been observant of it, and I know you've been peeping it out a little bit. So, with the introduction to Siege, do you think they're going to add more restrictions, and do you think there's a possibility that across the board we're going to see more diverse options, maybe even close to some of the ones that you mentioned on your list that could be eventually in a Siege pattern, or do you think it's going to be restricted, but you're still going to be bringing something that's a little bit more well established, like maybe more Legos or Mythics? What do you thought? What are your thoughts on it?
I think they will. One thing that player and I've always been good at over the past 5 years is getting you to use your resources, right? Curse City was one of them ones which was a massive sink for epic tomes, 5-star chickens, epic champions, silver, gems, pretty much like everyone has a stack of. Now, if you look at all the mythical tomes, all the tomes in the game, as an in-game player, you get more epic tomes than anything, right?
This is very
rare.
true.
We don't get them in clan boss or anything like that. People use them in champion trainings to some sniper or get big leads. They want you to use this. Now, before Curse City was around, I had about 450 epic tomes. This is before I joined the Raid content creator program, so I didn't have the perks giving me the juicy stuff that we get on a weekly basis. So for me, they're definitely going to throw in some epics. Now, I don't think they'll be rares because they don't want to bring rare empowerment in. They kind of said that rare empowerment for Curse City would have been a bit too difficult with, I think it was Nubraid's interview or when he went out there and did the hosting.
He actually met them. Yeah, I read that whole interview.
So,
they thought about it, but they weren't for sure from what I heard.
Yeah. So, and I can't see that coming in as well. So for me, epics are definitely going to be there, right? You can kind of see it already with some of the bonuses with like the HP bombs and stuff like that. We're getting, I think it was a 50% 50% damage increase with bombs for HP base
and defense based. That was it was both actually. It was HP and defense based. Right. I saw in one of the.
No, I use bombs in arena, but they all attack.
No, I actually went and looked myself after I saw after my initial reaction to the trailer. I looked and I saw like I lit on Hell Hades and I did the filter for all bomb champions. Every single one of them is attack based champions. So I was like, this has no value for bomb champions in general. And I think that's a very interesting thing you bring up. Is that there may not be some now, but you never know. You never know what the future has in store.
It doesn't make sense. But HP base maybe, defense base makes no sense because bombs scale from attack.
Agreed.
So
unless there's something in that kit, and I want you to think about this. This is where I'm going to throw because we're in conspiracy theorist mode here, right? There are so many champions that have been introduced recently that they scale off of one thing, but when you flip to like another form, think Mythics for example, Aphidas. Very, very like tumultuous relationship with Aphidas because a lot of people think he's bad. Some people think there's some underlying value there, and like it's all over the place when it comes to someone like Aphidas, right? Aphidas in his base form is an attack type champion, but his defense, if you read his passive, scales off of attack, so his defense is magnified for every bit of attack he has. I think that, especially as we're seeing more and more champions get introduced to the game, there's some kind of scaling factor they have that's also added to their kits, and I don't think that that's too far out of the norm that they're going to have a champion that's going to have his attack scaled off of another stat. And I'm willing to bet that could be on the table. And we may end up seeing a mythic bomber. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? That's my conspiracy theory.
Maybe a dog one, huh? AoE bombs.
You know, it'd be funny. I wonder if there's like a pack master maybe that could go along with him and get him into the fight.
Yeah. The next sheep, AoE sheep or something like that.
Oh no! All right, this is where we gotta go. This is where we gotta go. Yo, Grim, thank you so much for actually spending the time with me to do this video, man. If there's anything I want to add to the table and just say for you real quick, thank you for reaching out to me for the opportunity. And where can people find you, as well as any closing remarks or comments you may have for yourself?
Just mainly they can find me on YouTube. They can find me on Twitch, Discord. Very active, stream 5-6 days a week. So, you know, I'm around a lot and stuff like that. So, pretty much that. You know, I do time to time pop in SoulSaint stream as well. So if you see me, give me a wave.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
You know, arena players and stuff like that. And I think we're looking for that rematch, right?
Yeah, bring it. I'm ready. I'm ready. My champ pool big now, brother. We ready to go. No,
you're way higher than me now.
I don't know.
Right.
Well, you've been lazy though. You've been slacking. Yeah, you've been slacking. I think you can catch up and have some fun with this.
I got Quintus and I stopped. I was focused on takeovers and stuff like that. So
yeah, I don't blame you. I've been grinding live arena for like the area bonuses. I want all the bonuses I can get because it'll help out. You know?
Yeah, I finished Fire Knight and that was it.
Yeah, he's like, man, I'm good. I'm chilling for now. Well, as always, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think. Do y'all feel like his list is off the mark? I'm curious. Or do you guys feel like, man, this is something that you weren't expecting to see? I think for me personally, I wasn't expecting none of that to kind of come up. So, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, always remember, stay ascended. Bye-bye.